Hello, this is Jess. Chat session number 111, February 19th, 2018, Monday. About 7:05 a.m. I work later today at 4. Oh, I love coffee. Was off Saturday night and Sunday night. It's now, like I said, Monday morning, but I did stay up through the night last night just to stay in mode. This is Jess. Good to see you. We're going to do our first tidbits of history that we haven't done in a while. I miss it simply for the fact it's a learning curve for me. I like history. I like to learn about things that have happened in the past and to hopefully learn from that to carry to the future. 1847 on this day, the first rescuers reached the surviving members of the Donner Party, a group of California bound immigrants stranded by snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains. They started off from Springfield, Illinois, 89 strong, and at the end of the journey, only 45 made it to their destination in California. They took a shortcut blazed by some explorer or somebody that said, hey, there's a shorter way into California. They were basically stranded about 21 miles north of Lake Tahoe, the area around that. That's where they got snowed in at early October. They had nowhere to go. They couldn't get through. The pass was covered with snow. They tried to hunker down. People died. They had to, they had to eat each other, the ones that died and stuff, acts of cannibalism to survive. Fort Bragg, I think, is the first area of society that heard about their situation, and they sent rescue efforts, found them, tried to feed them through. There was some rough times even for the rescuers coming in that area at that time, and they managed to get the survivors out, but the whole job wasn't completed till the snows began to melt in actually late April that year. So it was a rough go, but it was pioneers like that basically have established a foundation for people like me to sit here and talk on a video, or like you watch the video, or like anybody take time to think back. Maybe you had relatives in the early days of the United States, distant relatives. You should look up how they lived. We should look up how they survived the hardships. It's interesting stuff, and these were some of those people that were determined to explore and settle new places in our country. Not only was the winter part of the issue, coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, but there was also Indians. Even up in that time, 1847, there were still untamed lands. People probably never been on some of this stuff. Even the Indians that were there may not have been in some of the areas that they had to go through in order to get to their destination. So a lot of hardships, but also the ultimate end was there was a lot of success, and they didn't quit. Just coming, the people, just the spirit of the will of the people didn't stop, and improvements were made, and people could follow in their footsteps and have a safer journey than what they had in the beginning. Alright, that's the only tidbit of history for today. It was interesting stuff. I actually know about the Donner Party. Looked into it a little bit. It was a pretty sad story, kind of, but it was also a tribute to the men and women who said, hell with it, we're going. We're going to push on, death or not. Pretty intense stuff. They're not the only stories from those times, but this is one of the parts that became a famous thing because it was again, I think a tribute to them and their stubbornness to move forward and progress, even with the end result being death for lots of them. That's the spirit of the people. So with that in mind, left politics, right politics, put them all together, make up some form of civility and common sense so our country can go back to the will of the people, to the will and the spirit of the people to improve and move forward regardless of the odds, regardless of the way I think or the way you think. And again, here's another suggestion. So you think a certain way, you believe a certain way, do you have that right to impose it on other people? And if they don't think and believe the way you do, you should put acts of atrocity and violence on them? I think that's a horrible mentality. I think you should hold strong and true to what you believe, but I don't think your beliefs or your ideals should be thrust on other people, and then if not received and enacted in the way that you want, you think you have the right to kill them or hurt them. I think that is a bad path, and it should never be accepted that someone has the right to impose their beliefs on you, and if you don't believe in them, if you don't think the way they think, they have the right to overwhelm you physically and mentally, and try to manipulate you into thinking the way they do. Because I'll say this, think the way you want to think, just keep it away from me. If I'm not interested, I'm not interested. Why is that such a threat? Do I think that people should put their views out there? Heck yeah, put them out there. I care less. It's not my call, it's your call. And you want to come out there and screaming about, you know, these people did this and these people did that. You should also stop and say, hey, wait a minute. Did I do that? Am I thinking correctly? Why should I expect other people to think the way I do? Would somebody willingly follow what you think without you having to resort to violence on them? And how do you treat resistance when it comes your way? Do you look at it as, I will break it down with physical and mental force? Or do you say, I have to be able to coexist with these people, and my boundaries are this, and otherwise I would tolerate everything except physical hurt on myself from them? I'm never saying that you shouldn't defend yourself. I'm never saying that you have no right to say what you want to say, but I would think that it would be unfair and unfortunate for you to think that everyone's going to think and feel the way you do about anything. and to come across as a bully and force of threat and calling people real derogatory names. And there's certain people that I'm referring to here, but I'm tired of doing that myself. I'll just say this, that you people that won't tolerate somebody else's opinion, what makes you any better than Stalin? What makes you any better than Hitler? You want all these things that are great, as long as it's in the realms of what you think and believe. But there's so many other contributions to our society from so many different ways of thinking, that if we all go battling each other, what gets done? We lose out on the prosperity of our thoughts together. I'm not saying that every person's good, because they're not. Like I said, I mentioned a couple, Stalin and Hitler. Look at that. Millions of people died because of them. But their first thing was no tolerance to different view. And that's where we all are fundamentally. Just because my view is different than yours doesn't make you bad, doesn't make me bad. It's our actions thereof that cause the conflict. I think that as far as an onslaught of someone physically trying to hurt me, I should be able to defend myself with whatever means necessary in order to deter that threat of life or death. But I should never go out and seek blame to other people because they think differently than me. Am I above learning and understanding other ways and other ways of thinking? Absolutely not. Do most people choose to? Absolutely not. They're so embedded in their own way of things that they refuse to see good possibilities from other groups of people. But it's an imperfect world, and there's imperfect people out there. I'm one of them. But I also think that I practice my beliefs, that I don't do it in a threatening, imposing way on anybody. I'm not an aggressor. I think that reasoning, critical thinking instead of political thinking is essential in success of anything. I think that once we recognize our ideals are different, I think that there can be middle of the road situations that benefit everybody equally. Again, it's all utopian society because one side is so entrenched, the other side is so entrenched, and there's this big canyon in the middle, and some people try to jump over and they fall in the middle. Some people jump all the way over and land on the rocks on the other side and hang there. And some people make that jump and cross over and cause change, and they do it at the risk of death. Belief is a hard thing when you got a gun in your mouth and they're saying, do you believe what you believe? How would you act to that? How would you react to that? Do you throw down your beliefs to survive, or do you live with your beliefs and die? Think about that next time you're ranting and raving about somebody else is doing something bad, when all we got to do is look at ourselves. All we got to do is look at ourselves and say, how can we improve? How can we make it better from this point where we are? Each individual has this possibility and potential to improve their self in a way that moves humanity forward instead of stagnated in all these discussions of, do we do this, should we have that, can't we do this, why do people do that? All we got to do is look at ourselves. Improve yourself, everyone. It's the only way. To deny that potential to yourself, you deny it to most people around you. Just my own opinion. Be truthful, be happy, and let's look out for each other, okay? It's Monday morning, about 7:20 a.m. glad to be here. I'm blessed. I hope you are too. I'm fortunate to be able to sit here and give a view of mine. It's just the way I see it, and I appreciate anyone who's watching. Have a great Monday.